Hello guys and welcome back to the GCOR Show. Today's GCOR Show is going to be not really a weekend review, more of a preview actually video today on the final two races in this season's GCOR Championship. As you already know, there are two races to go with two championships on offer. Two teams are able to win that Constructors' Championship with two drivers able to win the Drivers' Championship. And guess what? There are only 2 points between the top two in both the Drivers' and Constructors' Championship. Red Bull and Dino Bambino are leading both those championships. So it'll be really interesting to see what can unfold in the final two races, you know? I think that Red Bull, their package, as a team, I think, is the best on the grid. You know, I look at that team lineup, Dino Bambino and Foop, two proven race winners, and well, in the case of Dino Bambino and potentially Foop in the near future, GCOR icons. You know, I mean, you look at the stats this season, and Red Bull, they're the only team this season to have both drivers actually win a race, with Dino Bambino with 3 and Foop with 1. Furthermore, pole position wise, Foop actually has the most poles on the grid with 3, getting his most recent pole position last time out at Portimao with that sensational lap to beat not only Ciccone 75 but his own teammate Dino Bambino. It may surprise you actually, but Dino Bambino actually has no pole position so far this season, which is a sensational statistic, especially when you take into consideration how the championship's going, and his raw pace and talent. But obviously, as Dino Bambino has shown, pole position at the end of the day, if you're not converting it to a win, it only means very little, really. You know, it's just bragging rights, saying that you're fastest on the Saturday. But if you're not turning that quali pace into a suitable race pace, obviously it doesn't mean anything, does it? But yeah, those Red Bulls have been flying. I think they've been the strongest team on the grid. Not by a lot. I think it's been close between them and GN7, but I do think Red Bull have a slight advantage over the GN7 boys. Mostly because I just think they're faster, I'll be honest. I think GN7, Ciccone 75 and Ollie Freeman are rapid drivers, don't get me wrong. They are quick drivers, they're proven race winners. Well, Ollie Freeman obviously is yet to win a race, but I know that race win is coming very soon, you know? And in this championship fight, I think, even though I said Red Bull are the best team on the grid, I think the environment within GN7 is actually the best on the grid. I think if Ollie Freeman was told to give Ciccone 75 a position, I think Ollie Freeman would obey the team orders. And I think just the general vibe within the GN7 Mercedes team is brilliant, you know. I think that's courtesy to Ciccone 75, Ollie Freeman, and Genius Nature, and everyone in the team, making that environment a suitable environment for everyone to not only work but get the best out of themselves and each other. But yeah, I do think that Red Bull will just narrowly pip GN7 to the Constructors' Championship. Obviously anything can happen. As I said, 2 points separates Red Bull and Mercedes, with Red Bull actually on 294 points and GN7 Mercedes on 292. Drivers wise now, this is where it gets tricky. Ciccone 75 is driven brilliantly. He has been unbelievably quick. One of, if not the driver of the season. However, something in the back of my mind just tells me that Dino Bambino is going to win the championship just by the skin of his teeth. Dino Bambino, he's been the face of GCOR. He's been the fastest of GCOR now in GCOR for the last couple of seasons. And, when the going gets tough, when it looks like he's down and out, he just comes back and destroys the field, you know. Obviously, Monza, he wasn't there. But then at France, he goes and gets a weekend sweep, you know. The second weekend sweep of this generation. The other being Coward at Australia earlier this season. So yeah, I do think that Bambino would just pip Chicona 75, and I mean Interlagos. I think Dino and Chick are pretty much even if we go using the information and the results from last season. It's very close. But obviously Mexico, that's the new one. That's the one that we've never driven at before. So there's only one way to see it. But that's not the only fight on the grid that's happening. There's also a fight for fourth, fifth, and sixth. In the championship. Foop, Ollie Freeman, and Midget Matt. I think that Hurricane now. He's got a decent buffer to Foop, 44 points. Hurricane now is in an awkward position where he's too far away to fight for the championship, but he's too far ahead for Foop to really, threaten or scare Hurricane for that P3 position. So yeah, Hurricane's in that awkward position. But now, till the end of the season, Hurricane, he can try new stuff. He can do whatever he wants, really, as that P3 in the championship's basically solidified. But anyways, that championship fight for 4th, 5th, and 6th is going to be very tight. I think Foop is driven brilliantly all season, spectacularly. I think his pace has been, in qualifying. Clearly, he's been the fastest guy in qualifying, And the race, he could be high in this championship standings if it wasn't for his, early season bad luck where he kept on getting into needless incidents. But, it's fine. I'm sure he's learned from that. The Foop of old has returned. Well, I'm not even going to say Foop of old. This is a different type of Foop because he's rapid, honestly. These days, he's in qualifying, he's always at the top in the race. Even his race pace has been impressive. Last time out at Portimao, he had the lead, but it was just that slight error at turn 1 causing him to spin. And obviously, he later received a time penalty for track limits. So it's those small mistakes, which separates Foop from where he is now to fighting for the championship, So if Foop can, carve out those errors, I'm sure he'll be fighting for that championship next season. Ollie Freeman, again, another driver who's impressed. In France, actually got his maiden pole position, which shows he's got race pace, quali pace, 1 lap pace is good. And even his race pace is very, very, very strong. But again, just like Foop, he's got to stop getting involved in needless incidents. He's just got to try and stay consistent. And again, if he can just stay consistent, stay out of trouble, who knows, he might be fighting for that championship next season. Midget Matt, that's the third driver fighting for 4th place. And, Midget Matt's had a very tricky season this year. Still, as we speak, if I'm not mistaken, I think he's still not got a podium. Which is very unlike Midget Matt. Last season he managed to get, I think it was joint second most podiums. So yeah, Midget Matt's not had the best of seasons, but every driver has, a season where they blip, a season where they're not 100% at it. But yeah, he's still driven well. That doesn't mean he's not driven well. Midget Matt has driven well, at times in races going underneath the radar. But as long as he's keeping it out of the barriers, getting good points, that podium, I believe, will come this season. And 4th place, yes, he is right now the least likely to get that 4th place. But he's only how many points away from Foop? 19 points away from Foop as we speak. So anything is possible. And Midget Matt, we've seen him have brilliant weekends just like Monza. So who says that at Mexico, especially Mexico is a similar track to Monza in the sense that it's, very, very quick. With a couple slow speed corners, I think expect Midget Matt to be up there. But yeah, this has been the greatest GCOR season, I think, up to this point. It's just been the greatest season. The top 2, I think this is the first season where the top 2 have actually been near each other. Last season, obviously, it went down to the wire, but Dino Bambino, we all knew Dino Bambino had that clear pace advantage over Chicona 75. The other seasons, it's just been domination by one driver. So this season, from a neutral perspective, it has been the greatest GCOR season up to this point. Also, other drivers, coming out of the shadows and, showing us that they are going to be fighting for this championship in the future, such as Hurricane and Foop, even Ollie Freeman, and even though Midget Matt's had a tricky season, him too, and also just the racing quality as well. Everything's improved, and this has been the greatest GCOR season up to this point. But yeah, that's gonna end off the GCOR show for this week. Hopefully you can join us next week for the GCOR show, and this weekend actually for the Mexican Grand Prix, the penultimate Grand Prix of the GCOR season. So I hope to see you there. But yeah, thank you for listening and goodbye.